I'm Tim Berglund with Confluent. Welcome to Data Governed Wherever It Is. So let's talk about this fourth and final principle of a data mesh, federated governance of your data. That is, data governed wherever that data happens to be. Like principle one, decentralization, this is largely an organizational concern. The objective here is to ensure that these independent and autonomous teams owning all these data products within the mesh, to ensure that they can actually work together. That is, we want to make sure that the various constituents of the mesh actually mesh so that we generate real network effects of creating value, maybe in proportional to the number of nodes in the mesh raised to some exponent greater than 1 for all this data we want to share across the organization. Now, predominantly, this is about establishing global standards like data governance and applying those across the full mesh. So even though we started with decentralization in principles 1 and 2, we now want to strike the right balance between decentralization and centralization to tie everything together. This isn't easy, and in practice, the execution will likely differ from organization to organization, company to company. So let's look at some concrete examples, and you can start to apply this to your situation. One important task is to ensure that the same data, that's a difficult concept, I know, in reality, but ensure that the same data or data attribute is represented identically across different domains. Otherwise, we can't join or correlate, for an example of two things we might want to do, data about our customers across various domains in the company, like inventory, orders, shipments, if everybody's got a different view of the customer. Now, a comprehensive solution to that problem is beyond our scope here, but what we can say is that once you have them, then data contracts, schemas, and schema registries will help you to implement and enforce standards like this throughout the data mesh. Another example is how data products should detect and recover from errors. Here, we can use common strategies like application logs, data profiling, and data lineage to unearth errors in the mesh. Streams are very useful here because they capture live and historical data in a sequence of events, which lets you identify cause and effect relationships much more easily, particularly if you can join and correlate streams from different domains, as discussed in the slide just previous. Also, streams let you then recover and fix errors by replaying and reprocessing historical data, since by definition, they've got that historical data lying around in them, since they're streams. Last example, we can see again that there are a lot of data streams within a data mesh. All right. These data streams may span across systems, technology platforms, data centers, clouds, historical bits of company that have been merged and acquired. And that's a typical reality. For the purpose of tracking data lineage, we ideally want to cover the full mesh so that we have to follow the data. Otherwise, it's not useful lineage. Event streaming is, again, a key technology to implement this in practice because it lets you track data in motion all the way from its origins to intermediate steps and to the final destinations. Before we wrap up, let's talk briefly about some further considerations for federated governance. In my opinion, the most important recommendation is having the right mindset. Be pragmatic. Don't expect a governance system to be perfect. It only needs to be sufficient. And often the definition of sufficient is answered by legal counsel, right? So there'll always be parts of a data architecture that aren't covered or that were just recently changed, anything like that. So governance is really more of a process, an ongoing, evolving process than a particular technology or point-in-time solution. And finally, we have talked a lot in this course about decentralization versus centralization. Governance is on the centralized side of things. It has to be. I mean, fundamentally, in the real world, it is. So while there are things you need to centralize, beware of the temptation to centralize data models, okay? Careful of that siren song. That really is contrary to the spirit of data mesh. Those will eventually become too slow to change and outside the control of the people who know them best. So this wraps up our fourth principle, federated governance. In the next module, we'll dive into a little bit about how to implement a data mesh in practice.